No, I'm not interested in that. Ta-da.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay, except I look like a stroke victim because I have Novocaine.
Oh,
Might wear a mask. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I have to admit, people.
Okay, I won't distract you.
Yeah, I'm so easily distracted.
Bright, shiny objects.
Whoop. We did it.
Hey, hi there, John.
Hi.
Hello.
Bruce, hey, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
How you doing?
Okay, here. How about you?
Good. I can't access my camera for some reason, so you just have to look at my icon on there or whatever it is.
Okay.
How's Florida treating you, Bruce?
Good. No, it's been beautiful. How about you in Arizona? Good birding?
It's good birding. A little chilly at times. A little chillier than we're expecting, but
So, Fred, how chilly is chilly?
it's gotten down in the 20s.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I am not going to be sarcastic anymore.
It was chilly here, but like 40 at night and 60s, which is 60s and 70s as far as I'm concerned is perfect weather. It starts to get too hot down here.
Yeah.
Hey, we've had 50s.
I know my bike group went out yesterday, the day before, I forget, but they said it was 50s and beautiful.
But now it's raining.
It is.
We're gonna get rain tomorrow, so they say. We'll see.
Yeah, when we were in Arizona last year, I had to go to 2 years ago, whenever it was. I had to buy a rain jacket at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or whatever. I didn't come prepared.
I had to buy a sweater out here, put a little more clothing on than I expected.
We got half our group zooming in from other.
Yeah.
Tom will be here with that, assuming he will. How's Mike Piggy?
He's doing much better. He's had a lot of ups and downs, but he seems to now be on a steady upward. He actually walked outside yesterday, which he can't do because with the cold weather, he can't breathe. But it was so warm. He walked to our neighbor's house and back.
Awesome.
So that was good. Usually he just
Good.
walks in the house. He did over 4 miles yesterday, just walking in the house. We're gonna have to buy new rugs.
Right. So does he have a one of those things that measure your distance?
He has,
Right,
his
with-
Apple Watch and his phone,
yeah.
both,
Yeah.
yeah, he's hooked in.
Hello, all.
Hey, Denny.
Hi, Denny.
Hi, Denny.
Chandler Kroll.
And for purposes of the minutes, is Chandler our person in town hall, or is that a member of the public? Do we know?
A member of the public, I assume. He's someone I think is a developer from, but it doesn't look like he's got video or his mic on. But if we start with public input, we'll get some.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. No,
Hello,
no,
Lynn.
Thailand,
Thailand,
Oh, I didn't open my light.
there you are.
I'm sort of there.
Hooray, we made it.
Tom's here. Everyone has
Oh, Tom.
haircuts.
how do you get everybody in the picture?
Do
If
gallery
you go up in
view.
the top corner, there it says view.
Gallery view.
Gallery view. Huh. Not seeing here.
Mm.
Oh, I make it share. Oh, whatever. Does it with my computer. I'm not seeing it here. In the left-hand corner or the right?
Right.
On mine, it's the right.
Top right.
Up top, it says view.
Oh, there it goes. I got it. That's on the left.
Participants.
Yeah.
I think we're here.
Okay.
Hey, Chandler, this is Denny O'Connell. Are you on board?
He's muted.
Oops,
Oh, he's muted.
sorry about that.
Don, do you want to call the meeting to order?
Oh, am I running this or Bruce, are you running it?
Oh, I thought you were John.
Oh, thank you. Wait,
It's this Florida mindset, I gotta tell you.
oh, my goodness.
John's getting his gavel.
I have stuff. Welcome to the Open Space Committee meeting. And actually, I'm not sure how one goes about doing this.
Your clerk makes you look official when she writes up the minutes, so it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
okay,
You just started. And
okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody. And we have one member of the public here, Chandler Crowell, two, I'm sorry, and Denny. And the
Three.
rest-
And three, GB.
Yeah.
Oh,
technically.
I'm sorry. Bruce, this is your meeting.
I don't even have, the problem is I don't even have the agenda, John. I had to, usually I print things up and I read from it, but
Okay.
I read them, but I don't have them.
Don, I think you've done what needs to be done to introduce to have those who are not members of Open Space introduce themselves, perhaps.
Okay. So Chandler,
I don't
Well,
think
you're still
he's-
muted.
He's muted.
he's muted.
So
Hold
is,
on a picture.
so is GB.
Well, I can unmute.
Right.
There you go.
So I'm GB Brigham. I'm the liaison from the Wellfleet Energy and Climate Action Committee.
And
Thank
Denny,
you.
I'm Denny O'Connell with the Wellfleet Conservation Trust.
okay. And Chandler will introduce himself eventually. So the first thing is reports from the chair. So now, Bruce.
Right. I don't, the only thing I'd comment on is lots of good information coming in from the 5-year planning committee. And I was not able to make the last meeting, but I appreciate all the work. I also was trying to read both Truro and one of the other towns you guys had sent had read over their 5-year plan and sent it out. I was looking for that today and couldn't find it. Do you remember when that got sent out, or we can do this later? But anyway, I just want to comment that a lot of good work being done. We also have our article, and I sent a note to Rebecca that said we've got to be at a month by this point. I went to the NRAB meeting. There was a little question about whether the land was near Freshbrook, which it isn't. It's because they're looking at development of an extension of Freshbrook under Route 6, if they can pull it off, or at least a bike path to begin with. And they supported our article unanimously.
Bruce?
That was the Access Committee, Bruce?
No, that was the NRAB, the National.
Oh, NRAB. Okay.
Right. Tom is actually the representative who was here. But that's all I have.
Okay.
Bruce?
Yeah.
If I can just add, maybe not necessarily for the minutes, but an informal contact with the chair of the planning board tells me that he's ready, and he thinks he thinks that he stimulated people to review the information that you have sent around for the 2 articles.
Good.
So hopefully it'll happen.
Yep. And again, I wrote a note to Rebecca just saying we're it's not, if all the committees don't send it in within 30 days, they send it on anyway. And so we are at more than 30 days right now. So hopefully that's moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Tom, do you have something for?
Nothing special. I don't know, Bruce, is it appropriate to announce that there might be a different individual holding this office, or?
What would that different individual say?
I don't have anything to report if I'm the individual.
Okay.
So,
But
next time I will have a report. Promise.
Okay, and just for the group to announce that John has agreed to be vice chair. Tom is spending a good deal of time in California, and so that for the future, anyway, we'll change the listing on the notes. Thank you very much, John.
Here,
You're welcome.
I think technically you should have an election.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Denny.
Do we have to publish it in advance, or could we consider that at this meeting? Can I move that we have an election?
do we have to elect all our officers again? Is that appropriate or not?
Why?
I think Peggy's got a point there.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think you should plan on for the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, I think, it's not only opening, which doesn't make any difference, but I think at least to have the select board know that we're doing this, because it is a leadership position, and they sign off on this.
okay.
But can I ask, someone said we would all have to be re-elected? I'm not thinking that, right?
No, all you need to do is that with this committee, it's an ongoing process. And so they ask people in June, do you want to continue? If you
Right.
say yes, then you're on the committee. So there's no, we're good with that. We may even be fine with the officers, but I do think it makes sense to at least pass it by them. Or if we have to, if the election has to be open to the public, then we'll have the election first.
No, you're just
I'm
gonna
not
put
sure.
it on, you're just gonna put it on your agenda
Okay,
and
Okay.
go from there.
okay.
Okay,
And-
so do it
and-
next month.
Before we move ahead any further, we have not yet voted to approve the agenda or adopt the agenda or approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
All right.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have two.
Okay,
The date of where it says approved minutes, it's the wrong date. This is at the very top of our agenda. Approved minutes of January 18th, not December 14th.
okay,
And then I think under new business, the fourth bullet, we actually discussed at last month's meeting, the meeting with Conscom,
that was the first one?
the last bullet under new business.
Okay,
Got an update from Fred and Bruce on that.
okay, great. And next up, approve the minutes. Do people have corrections they want to make? I know, Peggy, you sent something around earlier today.
Yeah, sorry it was so late. I realized I
That's
had
okay.
gotten several comments from you and I've been incorporating them as they came in, and I realized I hadn't sent the latest version out. So there is a version that includes comments from both, I guess, from John, Bruce, and Fred. There may be other changes or corrections to those corrections. Any changes there?
Well, I haven't had a chance to look, but as long as the points that that I wrote about before, Peggy, if those have been changed, and that's good by me.
Okay, shall I read for where that was? I think there were two comments. So you know what I changed it to?
Yes.
This, the first is under the housing partnership, the Fred Bell Road. And it now reads, access to the property is through private land. Bruce suggested that OSC visit these properties and assess whether we should recommend that the town purchase access. So it's the town purchasing access. Is that the correct wording or?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't quite figure how to get that in. And then under old business, under access issues, a comment on the Agger property. Because the deed on the Agger property, Lieutenant Island, was never recorded, the new information included is here. The town lawyer's opinion is that the town doesn't own it.
Correct.
Okay, so those were the two additions from, or the two corrections from Bruce.
With those changes, suggested changes, are there any others? I move that we accept the minutes as with the changes that have been suggested.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Chair, Vice Chair, standing assignments. Fred and Bruce, do you have anything about property management?
No activity. We did go out with the assistant conservation agent and the AmeriCorps person. And we looked at the property down by the sand pit, pointed out what the kinds of things that we look for. And then we went over to the park. Yeah.
Hamlin
And-
Park.
But
And-
Hamlin,
Yeah. And they had questions and we talked to them about the kinds of things we do and the things that we look for follow-ups on. And, I think they got out of it what they wanted. you have anything on add, Bruce?
No, I think both of these, there were some pretty dramatic, the problem with that land over by the sand pit is that it's not just the littering, which happens with many of the properties you would look at, but people dump their old sailboats, and I know that that area is used, the DPW, I think, or uses it, but not the conserved areas. And, you know, so there's some pretty dramatic, Fred found an old TV, et cetera. At Hamlin Park, and one of the reasons we went there, there has been an effort to stop the deterioration of that path that goes straight down. They put up fences, and every time the fence gets put up, it gets thrown down, and it continues to be a problem. And the other big one was that there was a lean-to teepee kind of thing built. So Peggy, you know better than I do, but it remains there. And I think it's a liability to the town. It's very well constructed. I have to give credit to whoever did it.
It gets stronger and stronger every time there's a storm and more branches come down.
Yeah. It's just, I think if it's gonna be a real attraction to kids. And so anyway, that's one of the reasons we picked those two, but just to kind of work with them about how we handle it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Lynn, do you have an update on trail guides?
A brief one. I had one question about property management. We were walking along Blackfish Creek from, you know, where Drummer Cove round the corner to the area where you can see Route 6. And Danny, there's a Wellfleet Conservation Trust property there. Extend up to those first houses, or is this too vague for you to answer? You're mute, Danny.
Yep. Number one, I think if you walked all the way around to the point, you were probably walking on some private land.
We were down at the water's edge.
It's still private land, but anyhow, I think you're fine. We do not own up to where it goes into Drummer Cove. We own in the marsh itself, but not the upland.
That's what I meant, closer to Route 6, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because there's a property next to the house that has the TP type structure. To the Route 6 side of that, there are a lot of mattresses and cushions and things in the woods, and I didn't know if that was Conservation Trust or not.
I'm not familiar with that. I would have thought we would have found it by now, but
Yes,
Okay.
I think we
Okay,
would have found it.
okay,
so if you've got locations for that, you could put an X on the map where the treasures are, and we'll take a look at it. But,
okay, I'll check the map and get back to you.
all right.
So as far as trail guides go, there's been no activity, but Danny and I have talked, and we do need to update the folder or the sleeve because it's got a much better map now. And we also talked about updating a few of the guides. And last time we talked, we both said after taxes, we'll look into this. So that's what's coming up. And we're thinking if the folder or sleeve gets reprinted, we will be having to ditch a lot of what we still have. And the moral of the story is that perhaps we should be printing less each time because things change. So that is, Danny, do you have anything to add?
No, I think, you know, as far as the folder's concerned, it identifies the previous 8, plus now it identifies
Right.
the Herring River Overlook. And I think we owe it to the public to give them the best map available.
Right. So we'll
then we'll find a way to pay for it, Lynn.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Lynn?
I think that's,
Peggy, do you have an update on community outreach?
Yes, I did contact the 4 teachers at the elementary school to introduce myself and also bring Bob into that as well, because one of the teachers has been at the school for a couple of years and had previously worked with Bob. So I figured it'd be good for them to know that Bob is still going to be involved in at least a consulting capacity as we move forward with some sort of partnership. I also copied Mary Beth, the principal. She was the one who had put me in touch with the teachers. And just so she was aware that we've made this initial contact. I had not heard back from any of them and started to write them yesterday. And I realized this is school vacation week. So I think I'll give them a few days before I reach out again.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Peggy? Liaison reports. Bruce, you're up for Wellfleet Conservation Trust.
I think I'll defer to Denny on this one.
Okay,
All right, well, a couple of things. We are about to sign a purchase and sale agreement for a parcel that's in the Herring River drainage area. It's a 1.1 acre parcel, and it's over along the High Toss Road area. So it's a nice parcel. And we're just working out the final details, trying to get a state grant for this. It should qualify. And we'll either close it on June 30 or December 30. So we'll see what happens there.
okay.
The other thing, and we'll be coming at you, we've had some requests for use of properties by other groups. And we're finding that is getting to be difficult when people want to raise money off of our backs. We are developing our own policy, and we're going to want to coordinate it with you and with Conscom, such that if people other than the public are using our properties, we'd like to know about it, and we'd like to be indemnified, and we'd like to approve the schedule and stuff like that. Because the lands are supposed to be open to the public, but if we have to close them down for some group, we need to know that. And we also need to know that those groups are going to indemnify whoever is in this. And we've got a lot of parcels, obviously, on trails where you have some and we have some. So we're going to need a way to coordinate that.
So Denny, these are people who are either having a fundraiser or something like that.
Yes.
And do they approach you beforehand or do they let you know afterwards?
Well, that's been part of the problem. And we've had 2 groups. One was the Friends of the Herring River, and they have rescheduled that, or they have canceled it because they didn't think about the tide and their parking area. And then we've got another group, which is a walking group from I can't do the current one, the Wellfleet Adult Community Center or something like that.
The wax.
The wax with
The wackos.
With a walking group. And all of a sudden they were on our property was on their schedule and nobody talked to us.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I think your concerns are reasonable. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all that.
yep.
Maybe something could be included in the folder, if the folder is reprinted for the trail guides, just a little note in there about contacting Wellfleet Conservation Trust, I don't know, or on the website, just so people are aware that
Yep.
there'd be, once you've determined a procedure.
Okay.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, that's.
Uh,
Jenny, I have a question. about the property you're buying in the Herring River drainage area?
Yes,
Is that going to continue to be above water?
yes, we think so. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'll give you more specifics later, but
Thank you.
let us get the details done.
Okay. Thank you. Lynn, Friends of Herring River, do you have a report for us?
I have an update. The Friends of Herring River are waiting for one more letter of support, I believe, from National Heritage. And then they will file the notice of intent for the last permit. They're also, I think I mentioned it last time, and it continues, that they're expecting some good news about funding, but there are no specifics at the moment. Federal funding, I believe. And the outreach committee is continuing to reach out and with things planned, walks, hopefully walks in the right areas, and celebrating Poetry Month with looking for poems to publish, and an art show at Press Hall in May. I think that's it. Of interest, one of the walks will be Bob Prescott leading a winter bird walk in March. And the theme for the poetry and the art is many views, restoring our river, or many views of the river. So,
Okay. Any questions?
I think their activities though sound very interesting, and I hope once maybe we get the 5-year plan further along, I would like us to explore doing some of those same things as a committee.
Mhm.
I was in the Cape Cod Museum of Art in the fall, and their conservation trust had launched an art exhibition, having local artists paint from some of their properties. So the properties were identified, a little piece of history about the property, how it became part of the conservation trust. I guess it was 3 different conservation trusts in contiguous towns. And I just thought that was really a nice idea. And then almost immediately I heard that the Herring River group was also planning an art exhibition. And I think that's a way to bring people in, because they might be interested in art, but you can slip in your message
Mhm.
about conservation and protection of land as well.
mhm.
So I'm up for Housing Partnership. They are continuing to work on Ryan's proposal to use unbuildable plots. I think that's what they're calling them, for inexpensive housing. It was a long discussion at the select board, and they found themselves doing a lot of wordsmithing to get it prepared to go to town meeting. One of the hurdles they have to go through is they haven't actually had a chance to have town council review it, so they have to do that as well. So this is turning into a work in progress. I will be sitting in on the meeting on the 24th, and we'll have more information on that. One thing the select board started talking about, and it's not technically the housing partnership, but the use of seasonal condos and making them year round. And I think it looks like something that could open it's an idea that opens itself up to unintended consequences. I'm not sure how well it has been thought through. And again, I think it's going to be a work in progress. So I will also keep you appraised of that as we move forward. Denny?
That issue has been around for a long time, and most of the seasonal condos were not built for year-round, and how they were built.
Mhm.
And so that's the only issue. That the planning board is certainly receptive to that idea, but don't think that it's just an on-off switch.
No,
In
again,
fact,
this is helpful.
the whole thing, I'm a little puzzled. You're saying that at the selectmen's meeting, they made a decision to move this forward, so they're gonna put an
No,
article.
they had a long discussion. I don't think they're moving that forward. They're still talking about it. It's the other that they want to move forward. Lynn, you had your hand up?
Did they discuss wastewater and wells and
Mhm.
the impact that would have? You know, I'm thinking of there's some condominiums near me, right on Drummer Cove. And they had to get a variance to do that way, you know, quite a while back. And if it's year round, then it's an even bigger impact, the waste.
Mhm.
So
It's being
just
discussed.
again, so I'm understanding, because it's really the process I don't understand. This is, in hearing Ryan talk about it, there sounds like there's some real interesting parts of it, but doesn't this have to go? I mean, we have 2 marsh properties that have to go through the planning board for review.
And
Doesn't
And
this
I'm
have to go
sure-
through?
I'm
It does.
sorry, Bruce.
I don't know, that
interrupted.
was it. So we will
Okay.
get the planning board, there's a change in zoning, you know, that remains, I think, despite Governor Baker's suggestion, a 2/3 vote at town meeting. The last
It
I
was-
heard, there was the real talk about trying to move this forward this year, but that's not happening. Is that correct?
I don't think so. The board, the select board was at odds with itself about moving it forward and what to do with this, but it was a good half hour's discussion. So,
I would normally expect something like that to involve the planning board.
I think there are a lot of people who are going to have a say in how this moves forward.
But the Board of Health and all that, but
Yeah.
Right. Board of Health too, right?
Could someone clarify? I meant to look this up. This new proposal on the affordable lots is looking at properties that are at least 10,000 square feet of upland area. What is the minimum requirement now in Wellfleet for a buildable lot? Does anyone know? Pardon?
30,000.
30,000?
30,000.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The 10,000 comes from the state Title V regulations that say you gotta have 10,000 feet per bedroom. So
Aha.
10,000 feet means 1 bedroom.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. And also, as I looked at this proposal, I was struck by one of the sections. Section 6.28B.5, transfer of sale. And it's talking about if they may allow a lot owner to transfer or rent the constructed single-family home to an income-eligible immediate family member, sibling, parent, child at an affordable price. And I just wondered if that had anything to do with, well, I think it was it Kincaid? The property, map 30 parcel 14 near the bike trail behind PB's. Bruce, remember that one we looked at? And we wrote the letter to the town saying that.
Yeah, I don't, if that were, I don't know that it has anything to do with it or not.
Okay,
But, I think that there's a real possibility we would support that. Again, my concerns were not so much the property itself, but they have to go through Mass Mesa. This is an area of potential endangered species, and they just weren't doing it. And so
okay.
we offered to help them with that. And, it may be that that's a good place to put an affordable house. But I have no
Okay.
idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Fred, do you have an update on CPC?
Nothing, there's been no activity that I'm aware of since I reported the last meeting. So,
Okay, thank you. And Tom, do you have an update on NRAB?
We had a meeting a few weeks ago. We had a presentation by Jeff Day. Many of you have heard this on the possibility of reestablishing Freshbrook as a trout environment. Been a long time dream of his, and you know, he admits that it's an inch at a time. But one of the things they've talked about is opening the flow underneath the bike trail a little bit to allow more, more tidal flow up through there. And he has a lot of interesting data from history and so forth showing that there were indeed trout in that area at one point. But it's an uphill battle. I mean, that area is mostly seashore property, and he seemed confident that they might be at least amenable to opening that up. The rest of it to the west is all private property and presents a little more challenge, so to say. So that's, they're just looking into that. And I'm not sure what the next step is going to be, but probably I think they had some discussion with the seashore. Anyway, the two town meeting articles that we have presented, that is 3186 and 42137, property for protection under ComsCon, the NRAB supported unanimously, as Bruce indicated earlier. And there, I think John Reel was a little bit confused about the location of the one of the properties. He thought it was on Fresh Brook, but it's Blackfish Creek, basically, is I think the one we're looking at. But there was some discussion about the actual NRAB charter, and without getting into a lot of minutia, when the committee was established 10 or 15 years ago, one of the charges was to produce a shellfish report, and that seemed appropriate for us to hand off to the Shellfish Advisory Committee. And so our charter will be revised somewhat on that. We have an article to be presented at town meeting that was at the last town meeting, looking at a redo of the so-called Curley Report, which was done 50 years ago, looking at the flora and fauna of Wellfleet Harbor and doing a specific study to look at finfish and shellfish and so on. And it was withdrawn because of financial concerns. We're asking for $60,000, which in this day of Wellfleet finances, we're not so, we're hoping that this would go through. There's also an option on this article to do it through borrowing as opposed to direct grants, and that's not specifically spelled out. It will be by the time the warrant comes out as an option to direct payment by the town. Anyway, we also did pass an article last town meeting looking for proposals to evaluate possible dealing with dredging in the harbor and ways of preventing it. And so far there hasn't been a whole lot of response to our RFP, although now we're getting some input from the folks at Center for Coastal Studies that there may be some ideas they have about preventing the development of the so-called black mayonnaise, AKA black custard. So anyway, The pond study that we've been looking at is in progress. I don't have anything new to add to that, so. That's about it. So
Okay,
we're
thank
meeting
you.
again next week.
Benny?
Tom,
if I
just to, oh, I'm sorry, Denny, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Tom, just to make sure everybody understands, both of the properties are on estuaries.
Right.
And the one is on Blackfish Creek, yes, and the other is on Silver Spring.
Right.
So. it's
Yeah, and
probably- it's
I
probably-
explained
It's probably the Silver
that
Spring.
unfortunately, we didn't have a map to show them, but it's right, it isn't in the estuary that they were concerned about, and that was their
Right.
primary concern.
And then Tom, just a question about the Curley report. I think you said that the committee NRAB withdrew it from the last town warrant because of the financial reasons. Do you plan to resubmit that for the
Yes.
upcoming town meeting? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so is that coming to us for a vote?
When the final wording is done, I think it's probably appropriate to have the open space look at it, and it's a little out of our bailiwick, but probably worth looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
On to old business. We talked briefly about the 5-year plan. If any of the subcommittee members want to add anything, I know Peggy, you've been working on the survey. If you want to,
I have news.
you have news? I'm sitting down.
We got the go-ahead today from Rebecca Ruffley from the town to purchase SurveyMonkey. And so I will apply for that. The account will be in the name of the town of Wellfleet.
Okay,
And we have to tell them what our secret password is. Rebecca said that that there was not currently a committee, contract held by any committee. But if another committee or board wanted to piggyback onto ours, they would let us know first before they gave. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to ask, so the town has the license and we have like the password?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because I don't want to put us in, or anyone in a position of having to get a separate license for everyone who wants to use it. So, okay,
Right.
fine.
Yeah. And so we'll be able to share the password among us and anyone else.
Okay,
And I will tomorrow, I will go ahead and apply for that. And Bruce, I hope it's okay. I'll just go ahead and charge it on my credit card. And then would I submit that to you or to Rebecca for reimbursement?
To Rebecca. In other words, you should be being reimbursed. It's very nice of you to do it, Peggy. You should be reimbursed by the town. I read what she said. It's
Yeah.
a little bit unusual, but anyway.
Okay, hey, fine. I'm just so
Okay.
excited because this means we can actually make a little more progress.
okay, thank you
And
very
then
much.
just one other point having to do with that, I did circulate to everyone. I'm not sure that GB or Denny were on the email, but just to let you know, we did write to the select board, well, to Ryan Curley, the select board, and Charlie Summer, and alerted them to the fact that we were working on revising the 5-year plan, that as required by the Commonwealth, we would be in contact with, and I specified the other committees and boards that we would reach out to. We asked them, and we had circulated this letter at an earlier meeting, so you recall the details, but basically we were asking the select board for any suggestions they might have for us getting input from the town, from the community, in addition to a survey. The only person that has responded to me from all the select board members, Charlie Summer, and was Ryan Curley. And his only comment was, people don't respond to surveys, and we should instead do some informal gatherings at the public area near Mayo Beach, during the summer, and have people come and tell us what they think. And I thanked him for his input, and that's about all I said. But because I know that, again, we are strongly urged by the Commonwealth to have both quantitative and qualitative data to back up the proposals in our report. And I think having a survey, even if it's not, universally responded to, if we make a good effort, and I think Denny had some suggestions for how the parking committee was able to get a larger response rate, that we could probably do a better job of getting both survey feedback and then definitely come up with some way to do things more and to get at least some informal feedback to specific proposals. And that could be at a, open air function. Be really nice if it was part of a art exhibition or something, but I don't know if we can tackle that.
The only thing I have to add to that is it probably makes sense to use multiple venues or multiple ways of going about to gather this information, if for no other reason we avoid being accused of not taking every opportunity.
Right.
So I think both strategies are fine.
If WCT can help in any way to get the publicity out there, we'd be happy to.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Denny.
And I think, as I was understanding the way the parking group did this, I think it's a good model. I don't remember whether you guys did a survey, but as I'm remembering, you use several sort of ways of connecting with people to get their response. And, I think that's what makes sense. My own experience with these meetings, I was interested by Ryan's comments, is that the meetings that I've been to for this stuff tends to pull either a few disgruntled people, but mainly you're preaching to the choir. So I'm not convinced that that's such an improvement over but I think we should do do it all.
But the choir will respond to the survey and they'll give you
No,
more
that's
numbers.
No,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
Give you your numbers. Peggy,
Yes, yeah.
how long ago did you send out these emails? I'm not sure I might have.
Well, 2 meetings ago, we had we discussed the letter and voted to approve the letter to the select board. And then sent it out in January, and I was still kind of waiting for responses from other people, but Ryan's the only one who responded. So I think, in other words, we have tacit approval from the town to continue what we've been doing. So, and I will say we're really happy that Liz has joined our subcommittee. Thank you, Liz.
Any update or any discussion around titles on properties in Conscom?
No, I have not been
Okay.
following that. I got some good advice at the last meeting. Have not been able to do anything on it.
Okay, thank you. Access issues, is there any update among the group? Okay.
Yep.
I sent around a 2-page analysis of property data. And I don't know if people have had a chance to look at it. My incentive for doing that, and I want to keep this to only a couple of minutes, but is to try and be clear on who is responsible for what in terms of property. So I divided it up into vacant town land, municipal property, and Conscom. And I know, since I'm a relative newcomer, this was very helpful for me. And then I wanted to look at property that we're responsible for, and looked at it mostly by numbers and by size. And what I found is most of our property is probably around 1 acre, 1 and some acres in size. And yes, Tom, you're muted. Tom,
I'm muted.
He knows.
there you are.
Okay.
Yes,
No, I was going to ask, what do you mean by our property?
I was thinking of the property that this committee is primarily responsible for. And that would be I'm sorry,
You mean just town
the
property
vacant,
or
yeah, town,
Conscom?
no, not Conscom. I was looking at I wanted to look specifically at the vacant town property that is the purview of this committee.
Well, when you
well.
say purview, that's what these are properties, that we are being asked by Ryan, and we've expressed an interest in looking at doing inspections and looking at those town properties. We aren't actually responsible for any of the town properties, even the Conscom. What we're asking for is transferred to Conscom, and then we help them, because of a tradition and sort of agreement that we would do the inspections with them. That's how that's developed. But the reality of it is, even with those property, Conscom has it. What I would say is we have an interest in the properties.
Okay.
But it's not ultimately our responsibility. They aren't ours.
No, and that's fine.
I would characterize it as your grazing grounds.
Right.
Where you ought to be out there looking at those and understanding what the opportunities are. And, if you see something like one of the parcels that you're recommending to town meeting, there you go. So.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Denny. I think that's a reasonable way of looking at it. And again, this is me being a newcomer trying to get a better handle on all this. So we have about 10 minutes left. And we need to have a discussion around the draft code of conduct and the comprehensive financial policies. I think I would suggest starting with the code of conduct. We talked about this in the past. A number of people have questions about it. And I think this is going to have a greater bearing on our activities. So with that, do people have questions or comments or observations that they want to bring to the group?
Well, the only comment that I have, and we mentioned it before, is one of the things that they were asking for, and I haven't, again, re-looked at this, but when they were talking about needing to go through the board of, needing to go through Mr. Sumner, whenever we're asking something of town employees, I don't know quite what that means. And certainly Nancy Vale, for example, has been very helpful to us in terms of pulling up lists and breaking things down. Every time we talk with Nancy, we have to go through Mr. Sumner at this point. I'm not sure that that's going to be helpful or something that they would want to do. I mean, I think what they're trying to do is protect the staff and make sure they're not pulled into things. But the wording, at least as I thought, was pretty vague and could be interpreted in the kind of way that I'm talking about.
And I think,
No, Lynn?
I think the word you're talking about is refrain from giving instructions to town staff, but rather channel all such activities through the town administrator.
That is it.
That's giving instructions. I don't think we do that. We occasionally step into someone's office to ask them for some advice or where we can find something, and they might end up helping us. And has that changed? I think
Well,
that. That's what this has been.
But there's a fine line between giving instructions and asking, I mean, we don't tell Nancy, you have to do this. We ask her if that's something that she'd be willing to do. She's been very good about it. I'm just saying, even as you read it, Lynn, to me, it's, if it could be written in a clearer way,
Yeah.
I'd feel better about it.
Yeah, I wondered if something about, well, first of all, there is refrain. We're not forbidden. That's, one of the words I noticed that we were supposed to refrain from. I wonder if it's something about getting something like non-routine requests or not, because it seems like any member of the public could go to Nancy Vale and ask for information. And it makes it sound like, but we can't because we're on a town committee. And so, there's something about the reasonableness of the request or instruction. I don't know how you state that in a way that makes any sense in a policy. Is that an enforceable policy? But
Dennis?
Denny has an idea.
No, it's history. I'm sorry. But the source of this was there were two select people who would go to the staff in the various departments and tell them what to do. And the town administrator would not be aware, nor would necessarily the chair of the Board of Selectmen be aware. And so it got pretty heated for a while there. And that's where this thing came from.
And
I don't even question I think it's, a very reasonable policy.
It is.
What I'd say is the same thing that as Lynn read it, I just think it's pretty vague and, it just with a few words, as Peggy said, if you put non-routine or those the two correct words, I don't know. But I think there's a way to frame this that doesn't, because the way it's written right now, I think goes to simple kind of connections we have with the staff that everything has to go through. And I'm not sure that's something. I hear where it's coming from, Denny, and I support it.
Nobody's wrapped your knuckles yet.
So I think part of the issue here is the word instruction. They don't want us walking into offices, as Denny said, and instructing the staff on what to do.
And that's fair.
They don't work for us. But if we go in and ask to work with them on a project or ask how do we figure something out, I think that's perfectly reasonable. And I think that's the difference that I was seeing in the wording.
And another one that just came up is Peggy has kindly agreed to put some money out front with for the Survey Monkey. That was work that was done with Rebecca. I forget her last name now.
Roughly, the assistant town administrator.
Is that something that should go through town administration? I mean,
surely they mean town assistant.
She is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as assistant town administrator, she counts.
Yes, I agree.
Another history lesson. The parking task force ended up buying our own, funded by our members, buying our own Survey Monkey because it took too long for the town to get their act together to say yes or no. And then they wanted useless information. So we just went and bought it ourselves. And so it was a private system.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised. She said that when I spoke with Rebecca or got an email, she said actually she'd spoken with the town treasurer last month and had the approval, but hadn't communicated it to me. So I'm very glad I followed up. So they actually acted rather quickly.
Whether you knew it or not.
Yeah. Now I know. So in terms of the code of conduct, and for purposes of the minutes, that we just express concern about the wording of Roman numeral 3.D. Small letter,
Absolutely. That we support, and we can vote to support the whole thing if people want to, and then just express our concern about the wording. I mean,
Okay.
I'm very
We,
comfortable.
we support the concept, but yeah,
Yeah, we definitely support it.
Right.
So should we have a vote?
Yes, I was going to ask for a motion to support this with our concern contained in that.
You might try some words like the general principles or something.
Okay,
the general principles in the document.
Yep.
that our committee is in support of the general principles of
In the draft,
in the
Code of
draft code of
And
conduct.
just stop there.
Yep, okay,
we don't want to specifically mention that one.
I don't think so.
But what do other people think? I mean,
I don't think so.
okay.
I think
Okay.
that's good enough.
can it be moved? Can I have a motion? Or did I
I
make a
move.
motion?
I move to accept it.
Okay,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Is that
Okay.
unanimous?
Plus one from Tom. He had two hands up.
Oh, thank you. It was pretty emphatic.
And
Yeah.
I've actually read 2/3 of the comprehensive financial policies.
Oof.
All right.
Is there a date when they need our
Ten.
comments on the policy, or how do we?
2/28.
What?
February 28th was what I read somewhere. That we have to get back to them.
Mm-hmm.
On the financial policies, not the code of conduct.
Both of them, I thought.
Yeah, both of them, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know where that.
And we're submitting them to the board.
How do the financial policies apply to your committee?
Right.
By 2/28.
Mm,
She just asked for
Well-
feedback, right? On the
Right.
financial policy.
yeah. Mostly the part that I got to most recently, Denny, had to do with grants and overseeing the any financial and other obligations that we would enter into or agree to as a part of receiving a grant. And, that was the only thing that I looked at and wondered what sort of assistance the committee would get from the town in that oversight.
Grants would be taken out by the Board of Selectmen, not by you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
We would
I think that's
apply for
what,
the grant. Yeah, this is the discussion we had earlier. in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
subcommittee. So-
I found the email from Rebecca saying the select board has asked me to send you this policy, the financial policy, for you to share with your committees and send me feedback by February 28th, 2022. That's
I'm not sure we want to get down in the weeds in this, and
Yeah.
there's no other place to go.
yep,
And so I guess, once again, I'm suggesting that we send a note off with that we approve of the process they're going through, and I'm glad they have finally pulled something together on this. Does that make sense to people? Unless you have something very specific to bring
yeah.
up.
My perception as I went through is that they are, I don't know if these are new safeguards, but they are including or requiring a number of safeguards, such as minimum set-asides in order to build up funds so that they're in the future. We cannot budget more than 80% of the previous year's receipts. For example, even if we expect this year's receipts to be higher because they don't want to find us in a position. So there's an awful lot in there that's really about making sure that we are more fiscally responsible as a town. And I don't know how much of that was in the current policies, but as I read it it seemed a little bit of maybe closing the barn door after the horse had gotten out, but definitely policies that we should be supporting and demanding of our town
Yeah,
as the taxpayers.
Could we say something that along lines like, well, we support the policies and also support their, continuous review? Because
yes,
that way it's like, we don't have to say
Reasonable.
specifically if we have an
Right,
issue with
right.
something, but we support them continuing to, look at it and update them or whatever.
I think that's a reasonable approach. Does anybody else have any feedback to give on this?
I think that sounds good too, and I did read it over again sometime before, but unlike the conduct, there was nothing that caught my eye, but I don't have any, is 80% these numbers mean anything? I don't know, but certainly to try to make things more transparent, to try to put some limits on things is really the way the town should be going. So however you said that, Liz, I think is a good way to do it. So we are in support of the process.
So Liz, could you put an actual motion together for us?
And I'd like to amend it, but I'll wait till she makes it.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Sorry.
That the Open Space Committee support the comprehensive financial policies document.
Yeah,
And in the general principles involved, and also support the continued review of the financial policies.
okay.
And I would just add to that, after to support the continued review of the policies, something like to ensure the financial health of the town.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Tom, you had your hand up?
Second, I was going to second the motion.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think that's the first motion I've ever made.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shall I read it? Shall I read it for everyone's benefit? That the
Yeah.
Open Space
Sure.
Committee supports the comprehensive financial plan document and supports continued review of the policies to ensure the financial health of the town.
Tom? Do you want to second that again? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then who will communicate both of these to the town, to the select board? Or is it to Rebecca? It sounds like it's
I
to
think it goes
Rebecca.
back to Rebecca.
Rebecca Eldridge is the
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Oh, Rebecca with a K.
Rebecca with a
With
K.
a K, exactly. Okay, so it's
Would
Charlie.
you like me to send that?
That would
If
be
if you
great.
could, that would be great.
And I'll find that email, Liz. I mean, Lynn. And just respond to that.
I can forward it to you.
Okay. If it's handy, that would be good.
Sure.
Thank you.
There we go. So it's 10 minutes past our time, and we haven't gotten to properties or new business. And if we could hold off at this point, would that be okay with folks, and get to it at our next meeting? Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
And if
good.
I could just, oh, I'm sorry, Bruce.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my motion. And all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Aye. So, when is our next meeting? That would be
the
February.
third Tuesday would be March 15th.
Okay. So I move that we adjourn.
I so move.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Other motion, Liz.
Oh, right.
second, and adjourn at 5:40.
Okay, thank
Question,
you.
question or point, just one quick point.
Absolutely.
Earlier on, you were talking about doing a new slate of officers at the next meeting. I just wanted to make the observation, do they have once you do that, will those people have to be re-sworn in?
Mm-mm.
I don't think we were talking about a whole slate of officers, were we?
No.
Well, I mean, if anyone officer position changes, does that person have to be re-sworn in by, what's her name there?
Rebecca, Jennifer.
Jennifer.
I
Jennifer.
didn't think so.
I think the swearing in is as a committee member,
Yes.
Okay.
not as an
Yeah,
officer.
I
That's my
wasn't
understanding.
sure what the procedure was.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? No.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank
Yeah,
you, John.
thank you.
Wonderfully done.
Oh, you're very charitable. I'll see you. We'll be back next month.
Okay,
You then.
thank you.
As
Yeah.
Arnie would say, hasta la vista, baby.
I'll figure bye-bye.
Bye.